Welcome everybody, welcome to Kendo Tips. My name is Jose, I am a Golden in Kendo, and today we're gonna be watching some Kendo and talking about Kendo together. Welcome to the stream, thank you for passing by. Please let me know that you're here either by hitting the like button or just sending a message in the chat box. That way I know you're here, I can say hello. And let me know if the sound is okay. I have a couple of issues with my setup today. So I need to make sure that everything's fine. Okay. I feel like everything, if you guys can hear me well, let me know. Okay, how have your practices been? Have you been doing some Kendo this past week? Let me know how everything's going. This week I only had one practice because there was an event at the dojo, so the dojo was closed for Kendo. That being said, it's kind of sad because I'm doing a review of the Myrmidon set from Kendo Star, and I wanted to get a little bit more practice with that set. But needless to say, I will be practicing today. I should be doing a review on, I think I'll be posting on Wednesday. I'm posting how to set up your bogu for the first time on Monday, and I think on Wednesday I should be setting up the other one. What was I gonna say? Also, I've been talking to Andy Fisher to see if I can get him here on the stream. I should be having him. We're trying to figure out some good time for both of us to be able to do the stream together. That being said, he did pass along some savings onto us. So if you would like to use the code Kendo Tips, you're gonna get a 10% discount on Kendo Star. So let me know if you use it. Let me know if it's working yet. And free shipping for everything $85 and up. That's what he told me to make sure you guys know, and that he covers the cost of imports on most countries. So if you make a purchase from Kendo Star, wherever you are, most likely you're gonna get full free shipping, which is crazy. Anyways, how's everybody doing today? Let me tell you the plan for today. I got a couple of videos. I got two Jigeiko videos, two dojo Jigeiko videos, and one video from the last rounds of Ippons from the Women's All Japan Championship. And I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about approaching Shiai mentality, training for Shiai when it comes to the mindset. And We can go over specific drills at some other point, but I kind of want to just to touch on that. Especially somebody, I believe it was in the Discord server, mentioned that as more and more events are starting to pop up again, more Shiai are starting to resurface. What are some of the approaches? How should we come into a Shiai? What mentality should we have just in order to perform at our best? So I kind of want to discuss that a little bit today. Just make sure that everything is running smooth. Okay. Everything seems to be okay. So I think we can go with this first video I have over here. Let me see. Okay. So everything should be rolling fine. Let me make sure that we have sound on everything. Okay. And again, I have my microphone a little bit farther than I normally have it, so let me know how it sounds compared to the video. But what I want to do with this video in specific, I want to play it and try to see what is it that they're training for, how they approach their training. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that I like to do for training when preparing for Shiai specifically. And then we can go on to how to apply this into our regular Shiai. And of course, we're going to be looking at some elements of their Kendo to see if we can pick something and make it our own, steal it from them and make it into our Kendo. Shosuro Kaze, welcome to the stream. Thank you for passing by. Good morning. Very nice, man. Oh, okay, Ash, cool. Thank you. Yeah, like the names sometimes get me confused. Thank you for passing by, bro. So one of the things that I enjoy watching in Jigeko specifically is when people are not trying to mess up their opponent's attack, right? They're going for an honest try and they're not being tricky. And I'll talk about this in a second. This is, I think, great practice when it comes to understanding body management, pressure. This to me, I always enjoy, and if you watch my streams often, you will see that I really enjoy the continuation of practice with the men. The I men practice, I think it's a great practice for all modalities of Kendo. The reason why I wanted to show this video specifically is because I know sometimes people talk about how Shiai is different than Jigeko and testing is different. And I think we can merge all these elements together into one. And I think this is a good point on that. Let me try to fix something real quick. Okay, let's see. Okay, anyways. Um, One of the biggest things that I like to practice is Iman, and having a good partner for this is essential. Somebody that's going to challenge your your speed, and it's also going to challenge your pressure, because a lot of the times you may have the same speed, for example, but you need to understand what is the correct timing to get a good Iman or a good the Gashira man, right? The Bana man. If you're doing Iman, you're both trying to get there first, right? You're trying to be the one that understands when you get the opportunity to go. And maybe we can break down a little bit of that here. There was one very good man first here. Oh, no, it wasn't there. It was here. So we can assume that the person on the left here is the one with the highest rank, right? And he's the one guiding the practice. He is the first one given the pressure. I feel that this type of practice, it's essential, especially for Shiai, because you want to be the one making the person react. And ultimately, this also transfers into Shinza, right? If you see the motion started from the person on the left, he gave the pressure and he caused the opponent to react. And a very compact man in. So you see it right here, you get a little bit of pressure with the distance, pressure with the body, and also with the suddenty, like with the sudden movement. Right here. So it's interesting because at this point in Jigeko is what we should be using for to understand the patterns and behavior of people. I think, by the way, when you are in Shiai, you don't have this luxury. You don't want to try to understand how they move, what they do to change, what reactions they have. You want to start learning the patterns. And yes, when you go to a fight, when you go to Shiai or Shinsa, your partner is not going to have the same patterns as maybe the last person or maybe you don't know this person, but the behaviors stay constant. So there's very similar responses that you're gonna get. And if you have this practice within you, you can start understanding these patterns and using them against them much more fluidly. So for example, here you see this reaction that the opponent had where he gave the pressure and his partner kind of like stopped in his tracks. Now he's understanding that he's somebody that's hesitating. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but he could also done. And then he starts understanding, okay, this type of person is somebody that's going forward. Don't get me wrong, the person on the right here, he's ready. So I believe that if he would have gone for man, unless it's allowing him to come in because maybe he feels he's hesitating, he would have been ready to do something. As you see now, the person on the left, him, he is having such a big pressure and causing a reaction. This right here, this is an example of not being able to hold your pressure. When you create pressure, but you already come with something in your mind that you're going to do already, regardless of what happens. So you're gonna see that this person is going to approach and then immediately just keeps going, right? Without any reaction from his opponent. So he takes a step in, and then immediately he's right now putting all his weight on the right leg. He switched to the left foot to push forward, but he hasn't gotten any reaction from the opponent. Nothing. The only thing he did, he lowered the Kenzen, I guess to kind of keep pressure towards the Mune maybe. And granted, he lets go of the pressure. He's not... His partner is also not being mean or bad or anything, you know. He let him know that that wasn't an opening and he let him go away. But one of the things you want to make sure is that once you put in that pressure, you need to have a little bit of hold, a little bit that tame, in order to understand, is there an opening or not? And the interesting and the crazy thing about this is that you cannot go when you see the opening happen, right? Maybe at that point it's already too late. It's kind of, you have to anticipate when the opening is going to be there. So if you see the opening, maybe the opening is like the person does this, whatever. If you put the pressure and that person does this, maybe at this time it's already too late, because by the time that you reach or you're about to reach your target, your opponent can come back. So you have to start understanding like the body mechanics and the reaction of the opponent in order to understand when there is an opening. And that's one of the biggest things that I think Jigeiko offers in everyday practice. So whether you can score or not, I think we can always take a lesson on how can we make an opening? When was there an opening? Trying to understand when there's an opening, when you missed an opening, and when there's about to be an opening. I think those are 3 skills that you can always get regardless of, or you can always practice regardless of how good or bad your technique can be at that day. Does that make sense? This is an interesting exchange because there's a little bit of what seems to be hesitation. Right? So his partner... Oh, maybe... Hold on. Maybe you guys can't... Oh, it's hiding a little bit on the edge. Give me 1 second, guys. Sometimes I think that the video kind of shifts. Let me just make it a little bit nicer here. Okay, I think that's better. So sometimes you're gonna see that the person, I always say it's like a game of chicken, or you know, it's a game between one person. Hold on. I feel like it's always a game between one person puts pressure, and the most common result out of somebody putting pressure against a beginner is that as soon as you put pressure, the beginner goes, right? Or the lower level feels too much pressure and just shoots. So, but as you start seeing at the higher levels, you're gonna see someone maybe putting a little bit of pressure, the other one putting a little bit of pressure, and then they start into a fight of when is this tension going to break, or when is the distance too close, where somebody has to go, somebody has to do something, or maybe reset, right? So this is something that I'm sure that you're gonna start seeing a lot, or if you haven't started, I'm sure maybe you already see these things, where maybe they only move half a step with the right foot, but they keep the left leg engaged. So then the next person maybe does the same thing. In reaction to that, the other person now starts moving the left foot to kind of give a little bit of extra pressure without fully committing to the next step. So it's a little bit of play. You really need to learn and understand how to manage your body. So at the lower levels, I don't think you should worry about this. But what you should always be practicing, especially the lower levels, is understanding how to do fluid small steps. Because when you do this, most of the time when I see people trying to practice their basics or doing Jigeiko, they do this big long step as the pressure, as the semi, and it's not fluid, number one, and it's not controlled. So it's already with a premeditated attack type of thing, or you're gonna keep going forward. So you gotta learn how to control yourself after that first step. Hope that makes sense. You see, right here, we have this communication of one step, one step, one step. Watch. Hold on. So from here, person goes in Kamae with a little bit of closing the distance. He had no reaction, was not pressured. I'm going frame by frame, by the way. Then what happens? There's a little bit of attention, and the person on the right gives a little bit of pressure, and immediately in response to that, person on the left doesn't hesitate on giving that pressure. He actually gives a pretty decent step and re-engages the left foot, being in a very, very close distance. At this point, the person on the right tries to give a little bit of extra pressure. Person on the left, there's a little bit of hesitation here, right? Then come forward. So this is when the tension was too much and it hits your body. How can you make these steps give the pressure but also be in the right position to attack? It's very difficult. So this is, I think, very, very high skill practice. And if you want to start developing this, I think key is to understand how to do the small steps without losing balance and being fluid. This is a physical ability that you can practice as well. I really enjoy watching when this happens. And if you look at the person on the left, look at the footwork that is done in order to achieve that man. So he comes in to give a little bit of pressure, no response. So guess what? His opponent starts moving forward. His partner gives pressure forward, but then instead of taking a full step, just kind of holds his weight in that second and then immediately lunges in into the technique. So effectively what he did, he changed the timing of the attack. His opponent could have expected for him to bring the left forward, having a little bit of time before he could come in for the man. But instead of doing that, he went directly from the position where he started. He just stretched the right leg, and then he just kept pushing to go for the man. So when you see this, you change the timing completely, because two things, it's two different timings. One could be the timing of just going in for men. The other one could be step in and men. But this way is more of a mixed timing between the two, because it's one full man, but with the timing of, with a similarity of the timing of stepping in and going. So what this does, if you're able to understand how to do this and when to do this, is it gives the opportunity for you to see and anticipate the opening, take the opening and catch the person by surprise, because the person is expecting a different timing. So it's difficult. It's difficult once the person decides that they're going for man, they're going to challenge the man. You're changing the timing, so you're coming into that window where there's really an empty space. Now at this point, I really like how they engage into the I man, right? But if you see who's the person getting the men, this is something interesting and something. I remember I had a practice in California once with Chris Yang, and I remember he did something similar to this to me. And after we were talking, and he told me that every time you get hit or every time you hit, you have to ask yourself why. Why did I get hit? Why didn't this work? Why did this work? And trying to understand what is happening. This completely changed my approach on how I practice. So when I look at this, you can understand that one person right now is being dominant. But let's try to understand why is this person being dominant. For what I'm seeing, for what I'm understanding, is that the person on the left, the one that's being dominant, the one that's actually hitting the most and consistently, is the one initiating the motion. So it's not that he's going faster, it's that he's going first. You see, he's already going forward when this person is still setting up. So he gets into that man. In here, same thing. He's already going in and this person is still setting up. This one he let him hit. But I hope this makes sense. I hope this is very understood, because for me, sometimes when I'm in this situation and I start getting hit consistently, I remember exactly that moment when I was with Chris Yang and he told me, do you ask yourself why? And then I start asking myself, why? Why am I getting hit? And I try to polish those elements, because again, a lot of the times it's not necessarily that the other person is faster than me, but something can be done in order to either even out the odds or for me to get ahead. And most of the times is this, that the person is in motion before you actually are in motion. This is most often the case of why you start getting hit. Now, when you're practicing I man, you don't want to be sloppy. You don't want to just go and then before you should turn, you start turning and going again. No, you should do it. If you saw the example, this person was going in, fully going through, turning around and engaging immediately. That's the difference between rushing to turn around and hit. Okay, this is a little bit different. Don't cheat on this, because you're cheating yourself. You're not, okay, in practice specifically, okay, you getting the hit, but is this really elevating your kendo? I don't think so. Personal opinion, you know? But let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. Okay, so the last Jigeiko video that I'm going to show you, it's a video from a practice. I believe it was in high school. I don't remember when I downloaded the video. But Hoshiko is in this practice. So if you see right here, this is Hoshiko, I believe. So the reason why I want to bring him up is because now we get a little bit of a different style of kendo, different style of practice. Hoshiko is somebody that's been very competitive. Obviously, he won the past 2 All Japan, and he was in the World Championships as well, right? I think he was. Anyways, so now let's start talking about how to approach your practice in order to have successful Shiai, I guess it will be the topic, right? So one of the things that I enjoy a lot, it's sports psychology. You know, I've done some research on sports psychology, and it's something that's always very interesting to me, because I think it's applicable outside of sports. It's so applicable outside of sports. So one thing that with sports psychologists or sports like psychology research that I read is that you want to make sure that your event, so the Shiai, it's just like your practice. So your practice, you have a kind of a realistic practice for the event. So sometimes we don't get to run in a track, for example, and then go run in the track where we're going to do a competition. You have to kind of start putting yourself the imagery of when you're at the dojo, you are at the Shiai Joe. So you gotta keep in mind maybe the borders, the judges, understanding how to, let's call it this, how to sell an Ippon. I think this is very important to start keeping in mind that when you're in your practice, put yourself in that situation of the Shiai, and this, the first thing that this will do is to start helping dealing with the anxiety of being at the Shiai Joe, right? And even to the point that maybe you want to imagine yourself, okay, I'm in the semifinals, I'm in the finals, or whatever, just especially so you can give consistent kendo throughout all your fights, right? Throughout all your Shiai Jigeiko practices. Anyways, let's watch a little bit of this. Yeah, this is Hoshiko right here. I'm gonna be looking at him the most right now. I noticed that Hoshiko has a lot of these things where he baits you into coming in, he gets you anxious, and then he comes forward to get you to react. And it's very interesting. It's a very interesting approach. I think you don't benefit as much when you do it often. I think you can benefit more of it when you kind of pick your spot on doing it. But it's a good strategy to have. Now, I think it's also important to understand that I believe this is a high school practice, so he is, you know, his level of kendo is overwhelming for his partner. It's a big difference on how I think somebody else would approach Hoshiko in this state. What do you guys think about this type of practice like this? What's happening right now? Okay, so that was the whole Jigeko. I'm gonna put some parts throughout it, but I'm gonna say this. I don't. This is the type of Jigeko I don't really enjoy watching. It's some things are happening that are interesting, but you start realizing that Hoshiko is kind of depending a lot on reaction, right? I don't really feel pressure against his opponent. He may be trying to understand openings, but I feel that sometimes he's coming in with premeditated attacks. Uh, Listen, I'm not saying that this is what he does normally in Shiai. This is I feel that what's happening here specifically, and because I think he's a very smart fighter and he's very technical in a lot of things that he does. But this attitude, specifically when you're in Shiai, unless you're really fast, and even if you're really fast, you have to be careful, especially because when you're going backwards and that other person is coming forward, again, that person can be creating momentum. So all it takes is for you to miss one deflection for you to be in a bad position. So when you practice for Shiai, I think that yes, he's coming with that attitude of I'm not gonna get touched because I feel that I'm in a Shiai. I can't have your sword hit me. I understand this. But sometimes you also want to make sure that you're not sometimes you want to make sure that you don't have that backwards mentality, because again, your opponent can come in strong, can take control of your sword, and if you miss one deflection, then you can be in a really bad position. That being said, I really like this exchange right here, and this is something that when you see somebody blocking, it's interesting because right here I feel that he blocks on purpose. You see, he comes in like this to create an opening, and he was successful because instead of attacking, guess what? He tried to check the Shinai. He tried to be on a defensive position, and he was able to go around. Of course, this is something that they practice a lot, right? To understand how to fight, how to hit in different angles like this, but it got him the reaction that he wanted. In this case, if this guy, if this kid, whatever, would have been a little bit more forward and pressing in and throwing an attack, it would have changed the mentality of Hoshiko, right? Even if you throw something that it doesn't connect, it will make such a big difference. Anyways, I don't want to take out too much of your time, guys, so I want to go directly into this year's All Japan Women's Championship, and we're gonna go from the third rounds and up. So, a couple of things. This Mari Suenaga, right? Yeah, this is Mariko Yamamoto, right? This is like, I know when she got married, she changed her name, and yeah, because the final is correct. Yeah, so sorry, I still get thrown off by her name. So you might know her as Mariko Yamamoto, and she was the Osaka Police, Osaka Fuke. And she was the winner of this year's All Japan, and she fought against Sueno, which she did an amazing performance in the World Championships. And I think she was 17. She's from Fukuoka, and I think she has great kendo. So to see the two of them match up, it is pretty cool. So let's watch some of these Ippons. Sorry, there's one more thing I wanted to say about Mariko Yamamoto. So a while back, a few years ago, she did a seminar in Atlanta. And at the end, she had a little bit of a Q&A where people were asking questions, and she will answer Q&A. But somebody asked the question, what is her preparation for Shiai when it comes to her mindset? And I think her answer is right on point with a lot of successful athletes, and something that we should all kind of keep in mind. Her answer was that when she was at the tournament, she would see, okay, this was years ago, so maybe if I'm not quoting it correctly, I'm sorry, but this is what kind of stuck into my head, that she would see herself holding the cup, winning, what it will look like, what it will feel like for her to have the cup in her hands. So it's incredible how much visualization can do for our performance. To take it a little bit of a step above or a step ahead, there's a book called, I think, The 10-Minute mental toughness workout. I don't remember. I'll put it on the Discord. But this in this book they will say that you want to create kind of like a movie reel for yourself on preparation to your practice, on preparation for your Shiai, and preparation for your event. And in this movie reel, you want to see yourself executing the techniques successfully in the right moment and trying to see yourself scoring these points. And you want to see this from different angles. You want to see it from the outside. You want to see it from a first person view. You might also want to see it from your opponent's perspective. And you want to try to put every element that you can into that. If you know where you're going to compete, the color of the floor, for example, or where the windows are at or something, just so you to start getting a more realistic visualization of it. One thing this does is that it starts engraving what success looks like for you, what correct technique or what you want for your kendo to be inside of your brain, inside of your body. But also it also helps you with dealing with that anxiety of the competition, that anxiety of the event. And if you practice every day, as in you are in the Shiai, and then when you're a Shiai, you just think you are at your practice, also it normalizes your feelings. It normalizes your feelings of the Shiai, so that way when you're there, you can perform as you will normally perform. Because again, it's not that you're looking to perform better that day, so you're looking to not perform worse than your practices, right? You want to perform at your peak, and you should also have some of these peaks in your practice. So you want to make sure that everything is kind of the same, at the very least the same. If it's better, obviously it's better, but you want to be always in that baseline. So Mari Suenaga, it's on white. Maju Tamaki, it's on red. I feel like Mariko, she's very good with the kote, and one of her, I think, her biggest skills is her footwork. She's very fluid, but here we kind of have a little bit of that. We're talking a little bit about this on the Jordan stream that we did last week, that she's coming in, closing the distance, pressuring one side, but then going for the other, right? Very interesting. This Ippon is very, very cool, and this is something that I kind of talk a lot about this, is that when somebody does an action that causes the person to block, and the block was unnecessary, there's a big gap of overcorrection. Let's call it like that. And then if you see, white is going to give pressure, red is going to defend to that pressure, but it's going to be kind of like an overreaction with a block. When she realizes there's not an attack coming, she lowers the sword so that way white can scoop in, right? So whenever you have somebody that just cover a target, most likely that target is going to be open right away. Now, you cannot go after you see the person drop down their shinai. You kind of have to anticipate it. It doesn't always work. You have to be careful. But it's kind of one of the patterns that I started noticing. Very, very nice. Very, very strong, by the way. So this is one of the reasons why I always try to tell people when you practice kote, you want to keep going forward. You don't want to get stuck. And you want to make sure that you are able to perform another technique after the kote. Right, Dan. Very strong. Ooh. This is very, very interesting. Ash, thank you for passing by, man. Have a good rest of your week. I'll catch up with you later. Take care, man. This is a very interesting Ippon. Kind of what we're talking about with Hoshiko, the ability to go around, and this is something that you gotta practice, and maybe something that you can do at your dojo. Just create these scenarios with your partner where the person is covering at awkward angles, and you're trying to go around and get the Ippon. Now, what's interesting about this is that she obviously read she was covering in one spot, but then as the sword came around, she was moving it, right? So, needless to say, it's hard to get this angle when it's static, but when it's in motion, it becomes a little bit extra complicated. But again, something that maybe you want to have a friend or dojo mate at the dojo to try to understand how to do this. But this is something that is not normally executed, but definitely a skill that you want to have. What is this? So I'm making a pause here because I know with the new COVID rules we talk about Hikiwaza being gone, and I'm actually preparing a video to talk all about this. But this is a prime example of how Hikiwaza is still very functional, still very possible. Tagatari and Subaseriai are still in play. They're different, but they're still in play. So, okay, this is again from 2022. So the COVID rules are an effect on this Ippon. And look what happens. Tagatari, Subaseriai, opportunity taken, right? So again, I will make a video about this specifically, but all of these elements are not gone. So please, please do not neglect your Hikiwasa and understanding how to do Tagatari and Subaseriai properly. Very, very, very nice. Very risky move. Very risky move. Yeah, Steven, the Hikiwasa is not gone. This is interesting because how this happened is very risky. She was getting pressure. Her opponent came in, and she did. Why did this thing that we caught Hoshiko doing? I think in this last All Japan, where he kind of pretended to go back, but he just re-anchored her left leg. She just re-anchored her left leg and immediately attacked for the men, because one thing that this does is messes up with their spacing, with the timing, and where her. Okay, let me replay this. As you see this, Ippon, white steps back, right? As red is coming in for a technique. She is kind of already committed into the men. And what happens by white going and taking a half step back and anchor the left leg to start pushing forward, it messes up, number one, with the timing, and number two, with the distance that her opponent anticipated. So Red anticipated to attack farther because she was going backwards. So as you see, she starts lifting the shinai to go for that man. But at this point, her opponent, instead of keeping the motion backwards, she suddenly shifted it to go for that kote. Very, very interesting approach, and something that you don't want to do all the time, but this is something that is very useful to have in your arsenal of tools. You want to be able to know and understand when to do this. If you approach this as, for example, your Tokuiwaza, when you do Tokuiwaza, you want to understand not only how to do the technique, but also how to set up the scenario, how to set up the moment to do this. So again, this is something that it's a great tool to have, but you gotta understand when to use it and how to make the appropriate situation to make that happening. Great Ippon. Oh, very cool Ippon. Very cool Ippon. So she goes around. She threatens the man. No, wait, sorry. Let me go back a little bit. As she comes in, she goes around. Oh no, she doesn't go around. Okay, she went. Okay, she goes under. So if you see what happens, a lot of times people get stuck about hitting the man from this side of the opponent, right? But this side is very much valid to hit the man. And some people, I mean, sometimes people don't feel confident on challenging that side, but it's very effective, especially if you have somebody that covers a lot on this side. If you notice here, she went underneath and she went directly for that man. Very cool. Did she go underneath? Oh, no. She didn't go underneath. Sorry. She actually brought the Shinai down to suppress her opponent. Kind of like Osai, I guess. Very cool point. Very cool point. I wish you had a little bit of better resolution in this thing sometimes. Okay, so Seno from Fukuoka, listen, she's going to win this at some point. She did great. She's a great player. She was very young when she made it into the Japan team for the World Championship. Again, we were talking about this last week's stream against Jordan. So the ability to change direction and hit the right kote is very, very important. One of the things though is that this is an interesting cover because here obviously the do is very exposed. It will be harder for the morote kote to be stroked here, but still a very big possibility. So that being said, maybe she's baiting her into doing that because she's ready to go around and hit in whether it is the right kote and or the men. But very interesting approach. Maybe I will go back and I'll grab this whole fight. So again, as I said, Mariko is really good at moving around. Look at her footwork, the fluidity. She's able to go around, make the distance quickly, close the distance quickly, and every time that she lands in a spot, she is ready to go. Steven, which one? Sueno's kote? Yeah, I mean that kote, it just hits different. Great attempt for the Hikiwasa. Again, great attempt for the Hikiwasa. Nice. There's been a lot of kote stroke in this tournament. Oh, very surprising. Again, this is very important with the left foot. So she never left the pressure forward, right? She kind of did this covering, but it's very good from her that instead of having that period of overcorrection, she just shot into another technique. Very cool. Very nice. I also really like Senos Kamae. Okay, I think this deserves a little bit of breakdown here. It's so interesting. Look how she moves the sword. Look at the tip of the sword moving, right? Listen, it's too bad that Ash had to leave because this is something that I find very interesting. Many people, they move the sword. Hold on. Many people, when they're trying to move the sword, guess what? They use the right hand to move it. And if you see the way that the sword moves when you use the right hand, it moves from this point, right? But the way that you see Senna's sword moving is more like this, right? And this is what you want. You want to be able to move the tip of the sword. You don't want to move the whole sword because that's what's going to give you the snap. So instead of using your right arm to move the sword, use your left. This is so important. And if you see here, as much... Oh, wait, what happened? Wait, sorry. Sorry. As much movement as you see on this sword, you can tell that it's coming from the left hand because of that motion of the tip, right? So, and the cool thing about it is that it moves in different axes. It moves, okay, I'm gonna go left, I'm gonna go right, I'm gonna left, I'm gonna go right, okay, and then I'm gonna go forward. So it's not this, that, right? It's more pop, 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 pop. And again, much more less movement if you do this, because if you do this, you're gonna have to do this as well, right? If sorry, if you do one hand, you have to move the other one. But no, instead, you want to use only your left to move, and the right one is going to guide where the sword is going to go. So she's getting ready which way the sword is going to shoot, but the left arm is the one making the tip move. Oh, by the way, that wasn't Senna, I believe, right? That was actually... Oh, no, yeah, that was Senna. Sorry. I confused the colors. Ooh. How many of you have done that to somebody Shiai? So, okay, look what happens here. She sees that there is no opening, but Kakimoto is leaving the Shiai there, right? It's kind of frozen. She's kind of frozen. So what does she do? She moves the Shiai out of the way and goes in for the technique. Listen, that moment of panic when she realized that Shiai wasn't there to protect her. Look at this. Wait, sorry, it's not here. So she hooked the Shiai, and then she realized, oh, my Shinai's not there. Bam! She gets hit. Very, very interesting. So, listen, I always say, don't fight the Shiai, fight the person, right? Don't focus on the Shiai. But sometimes the person is just there frozen, and having this opportunity and do this in one motion, like it's very, very cool, very interesting, very good approach to have. I mean, very good skill to have, sorry. Normally, I've never done it like this. The way that normally this presents itself for me, most of the times, is that the person is on Tsubaseri and you see they're like this and they're just like frozen there. So as you go back, you can do kind of like a harai, but on the way back. Oh, and I guess this is more common too for Nito, right? So the Shoto would be able to do this, and then the Daito will get the Ippon. Oh, this was a very risky exchange. Again, look at the motion of the tip. Very, very risky exchange. Especially because if she missed that, she would have been done. Yeah, she hits hard. Oh, very, very nice approach. Wait, hold on, did it? Sorry, guys. Hold on, let me just put this here. I went too far back. Hold on. Ah, this is not what I wanted to show. Oh. Okay, so let's break this down for a second. I think it's a very, very interesting approach. So right now the Subaseria is being very light, right? You are seeing that there's not so much for pushing, and immediately they're looking to go into an attack. They don't want to linger too much. I wouldn't be able to tell you why this wasn't a dough. I think this was a very good dough. And the man after that, it also was really good. I don't know if it was because of the angle of the sword. Maybe I saw that this judge almost raised the white flag after for the man. No, he didn't. But I think it's a really great exchange, and this is very interesting to start understanding how Subaseria is done right now for the Hikiwaza. That you don't want to linger too much, you don't want to be rough and be pushing the other person, you want to immediately find the opening. These are dangerous exchange, and I feel that Seno was in a more dangerous point that Abe was, but I think the reason for that is because maybe she feels that that could have been a doll, and sometimes this kind of messes up with your mind. Yeah, she's really good at this whole. Let's call this the windshield wiper, right? Like it's called like this. She's really good at creating that confusion there. Look, one side, the other side, and goes in. I want to have her follow through, by the way. Look at this. Boom. A lot of power. Man, she has a lot of power. Okay, so this is the final. So you see the subtle step in that Mariko is doing. She is coming in to see what's happening. Look at that. I think it really shows a little bit of her higher level, in the sense that she's trying to understand what her patterns are. Seno is not doing it wrong either. She's giving the pressure, she's coming in, she's not letting the distance get away from her. I feel that this step right here from Seno was a little bit too passive, and oh, she was being very, very passive. Bam. She was one by one Kote. Ah, yeah, just one. I guess it was an intro. Yeah, very, very interesting. Very interesting exchanges. One of the biggest things that, again, I say, the first thing you want to have is a good mentality when it comes to approaching your Shiai. You don't want to be. You want to be on edge, but you don't want to be anxious. You don't want to be doing a kendo that you don't practice. at this moment. You want to make sure that you are doing your best kendo. And to do this, you need to make sure that you keep everything within the same pattern. So my best advice is practice your kendo for your shiai during your jigeko as if you're there. And don't go into the shiai so nervous. Think about how you practice for this specifically. What was I gonna say? It's very important that visualization points is very important. Understanding the practices, how to have your mindset is very important. The other thing that I always found very interesting is that your brain, your mind is going to start messing with you or playing with you at some point, in the sense of maybe doubt or hesitation. So for example, maybe you start feeling your legs and you start saying, okay, my legs are getting tired. You have to redirect this inner voice and you have to understand how to do this. So I actually read this in another article regarding sports psychology, that you want to start telling yourself that this is normal, right? That your legs feel this way because you're using them. Not start being self-defeating and saying, oh, my legs are tired, I cannot do this. This is it's a very toxic way of approach your practice. You want to start normalizing your negative feelings and trying to stay in a positive mindset. The other thing is, don't just relax completely where all the tension is gone. You want to have tension, you want to have that feeling of you need to do this. You can just one thing that I feel that is very detrimental is when people go to a competition and they just start like telling jokes or going around talking to everybody, not really focusing on what they're there to do. So this is very important as well. Again, I'm going to make a more dedicated video on this, and I want to bring a guest to talk specifically about this, but I have to set that up. Again, I'm setting up a stream with Andy Fisher from Kendo Star. I hope that you guys enjoy that. If you have any questions that you would like me to ask, you can come to that stream and ask them or send them on the Discord. I'm going to send the link here, guys. If you would like to become a member of the stream, you can please go in there, check out some of the extra perks. Right now, for all the levels, if you are part of the, if you're a member, you can send me a short video and we can talk about it. I can send you some notes and so on, if you would like me to do that. But it's a really good way to support the channel and help this channel keep growing, so that way I keep bringing you better and better content. The other thing I want to make sure you guys know, next week I will be doing my regular stream, but I'm going to try to do another stream throughout the week. Again, I will be posting the review of the Myrmidon Kendo Star set on Wednesday, I believe. That's the time. Let me see. Make sure that I don't forget anything. Yeah. Okay. And that's it. Anyways, guys, I think I'm gonna cut it off here. Thank you very much for passing by, being part of the stream. You guys keep me motivated on making sure that I keep studying this kendo and I keep bringing some better stuff for you guys. If you have any suggestions, please pass by the Discord channel, Discord server, and let me know what you think on how can I make this better. Also, I'm gonna leave you here with a video that I posted this week. If you could pass by that video after the stream is over, that would be really helpful, and I would appreciate if you can hit the like button if you haven't. Guys, thank you very much for being part of this. I'll see you in the next stream, okay? You guys take care. Have a good rest of your weekend.